It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today's episode will be all about the Cleveland Browns as we start to preview the upcoming 2021 NFL season. We'll take a look at some training camp quick hits, some reasons for optimism, as well as some causes for concern, in addition to our positional breakdowns on both sides of the ball. But first, let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the Browns season as we go into our 4-minute offense. Last season, the Browns finished 17th in total defense. Not terribly bad, but not particularly great either. They were good in some spots, not so good in others, which is in fact very average. That's why this offseason, you can tell that was one of the major focal points of the front office was to get better on that side of the ball. We saw the Browns go out and sign Jadeveon Clowney, John Johnson III, Troy Hill, and Anthony Walker as plug-and-play starters on defense, while adding a Malik Jackson and Takk McKinley as key contributors as well. Now, there will be 6 new starters on defense this year for the Browns, so we'll see if that turnover yields better results in 2021. Odell Beckham Jr. returns from an ACL injury that he suffered in the Week 7 matchup versus the Cincinnati Bengals. His return will be huge for this football team, and folks can act as if losing him didn't particularly matter or say, well, the Browns offense opened up more with him gone. The facts are this: having Odell Beckham on your football team, on your offense, makes you infinitely better than not having him out there on the field. His best friend and teammate Jarvis Landry led the team in receiving yards and receptions last year, and the next wide receiver was Rashard Higgins, who was 4th in the receptions category with Beckham right behind him. So that tells you how vital Beckham is to that football team. So look for OBJ to get back to his 1,000-yard receiving ways this upcoming season. Another point of emphasis for the Browns this offseason was to get faster as a team. During the 2021 NFL Draft, they selected guys like cornerback Greg Newsome II out of Northwestern, linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame, and wide receiver Anthony Schwartz from Auburn. All are speed guys that can play, with Schwartz's speed being of the world-class variety. The old football saying goes, speed kills, and the Browns have found out in the playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs that not having it in abundance may have cost them an opportunity to advance in the playoffs. Well, they've made it a point to rectify that issue with the moves that they made this past April. For the last couple of seasons, it's been a Browns offseason where everyone is saying this is the year that they break through and make the playoffs, only to watch them not live up to those expectations. Well, they've broken that door down with their remarkable 2020 season that saw them not only get to the playoffs, but beat the brakes off their division rival Pittsburgh Steelers on the road in a wild card game. Now the expectation shifts to consistently making the playoffs and getting to the Super Bowl. Head coach Kevin Stefanski did such a great job in his first season managing expectations that the focus and challenge would now turn to him handling a new set of expectations this season. It will arguably be the biggest storyline this year for the Browns. Baker Mayfield is coming off his best season as a pro, and I say that not from a statistical standpoint, but from a playing the position standpoint. Mayfield was able to avoid those costly turnovers, found ways to extend drives with his legs and his ability to create off script, which subsequently allowed the team to have success. I believe seeing the success that he had last year and seeing how that translated to team success, I don't expect him to revert to his pre-2020 ways. He's growing into exactly what the Browns envisioned him being when they made him the #1 overall pick back in 2018. Cleveland has the best running back duo in the NFL with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And I hate to use hyperbole here, but these two guys in the same backfield just reminds me a lot of Bo Jackson and Marcus Allen when they were in the same backfield. They complement each other rather well, and both are dynamic and explosive while also bringing their own individual flair to the position. It won't be long before both guys go over 1,000 yards in the same season, and Chubb has become one of the league's best backs, earning his first Pro Bowl nod last year, while Hunt, who once led the league in rushing as a rookie, has transformed himself into a multifaceted option out there on the field, scoring 11 total touchdowns last year and finishing 3rd in receptions. So it'll be interesting to see if Hunt has that same level of productivity in the passing game, as the Browns selected Demetric Felton out of UCLA in the 6th round, who has the ability to play slot receiver in addition to the traditional tailback. And helping pave the way for such a dominant run game is fullback Andy Janovich, who proved to be a big-time free agent acquisition last season from the Broncos. The Browns are solid at wide receiver, boasting 2 number 1 options in Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr., and having those two back on the field together just makes game planning against the Browns very difficult in that regard. When OBJ went out, it allowed Rashard Higgins and second-year player, then rookie at the time, Donovan Peoples-Jones, to make the most of their opportunity. Higgins and Jones had some of the highest yards per catch averages on the team at 16.2 and 21.7 respectively. This year, they add rookie wide receiver Anthony Schwartz to the mix, who has legitimate sprinter speed. So look for Schwartz to have significant role within his offense and be heavily utilized in the wide receiver run game. I think they're going to get creative in that regard. The tight ends are another strong group for Cleveland. As free agent acquisition, Austin Hooper was as good as advertised, coming over from the Atlanta Falcons, finishing 2nd on the team in receptions and 3rd in yards. And Harrison Bryant showed enough in his rookie season to warrant more opportunities moving forward, as the Browns love to utilize multiple tight end sets. Former 1st-round pick David Njoku hasn't displayed the consistency necessary that is expected of a 1st-round pick, but he still poses a matchup problem for most defenders. And Stephen Carlson out of Princeton has quietly settled into a nice role within his offense, as he's solid on both ends within his game. Cleveland's offense was so good last year, and a lot of it was because the offensive line was outstanding. Jedrick Wills had an excellent rookie season, showing dominant play on both ends. He and Jack Conklin really helped solidify the Browns on the edges. Wyatt Teller, J.C. Treader, and Joe Patonio, your guard-center-guard combination, are the integral parts up front that really help spearhead their dominant run game. And the pass protection from this unit as a whole was significant. It was significantly improved over last year, as the Browns were 8th in the league in sacks allowed, only giving up 26 as opposed to the 40 they gave up in 2019. And I do believe the depth here is strong, as they get back Drew Forbes and Colby Gossett back from opting out of the 2020 season. Chris Hubbard started a few games last year, providing that good swing depth up front. And in the 4th round this year in the draft, they took James Hudson out of Cincinnati, who can play either guard or tackle. And 2nd-year player Nick Harris played really well as a rookie, showing that he's able to back up Treader at the pivot position if need be. Outside of Myles Garrett, who once again made the Pro Bowl and led the team in sacks with 12, the Browns' defensive line will look a lot different in 2021. Gone is Larry Ogunjobi, Sheldon Richardson, and Olivier Vernon, and in comes Jadeveon Clowney, Andrew Billings, Malik Jackson, and Jordan Elliott. Now, Clowney was the biggest signing on the defensive side of the ball this offseason. He says he's healthy for the first time in a long time, and playing opposite of Myles Garrett figures to put him in line for a big season. Billings was a COVID opt-out last year and is slated to start inside. Malik Jackson, the wily vet, was a free agent signing mainly to provide that swing depth on the interior, as the team expects Jordan Elliott, who is entering his 2nd season, to hold down one of those starting spots up front. Elliott got valuable minutes last year, even starting a game, and played himself into this role that he's going to be in 2021. 4th-round pick Tommy Togiai out of Ohio State is a rugged, pursuit-type player that'll find his way into the rotation heavily this season. Joe Jackson and free agent signing Takk McKinley figure to work in rotation, with McKinley looking to splash enough to re-up either here with the Browns or elsewhere. To me, the Browns have improved at linebacker this season. I like the game of both Sione Takitaki and Jacob Phillips. I believe both guys made enough plays on the field last year to give you optimism about the position moving forward. Now, the team did sign Anthony Walker in free agency, who covers a lot of ground and is a very good open field tackler. And speaking of covering a lot of ground, draft picks Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame and Tony Fields II out of West Virginia do exactly that. Look for both guys to be considered game day matchup players, as their speed, athleticism, and versatility can create defensive advantages for the Browns, in my opinion. Getting Owusu-Koramoah where they did was great value, as many had him pegged to go to the Browns in the 1st round. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays, and also how Mack Wilson is able to grow his game despite his minutes going to be decreasing with the new additions around him. Health permitting, on paper, this is a very legit group in the secondary for the Browns. However, they do need Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, and Grant Delpit to all be out there for a full 17-game season. Because of the uncertainty with those guys missing games, the Browns invested more capital into the secondary this offseason by signing the talented John Johnson III and Troy Hill in free agency from the Rams, while also drafting cornerback Greg Newsome out of Northwestern and safety Richard LeCounte out of Georgia this past April. Now, Newsome could potentially start outside, allowing Williams to slowly work himself back into the lineup. And I'm a big fan of LeCounte as he has an instinctual game about him. He's a ball magnet and will find a way to be on the field as a rookie. The depth here is strong with MJ Stewart, Ronnie Harrison Jr., and Sheldrick Redwine. And second-year player AJ Green is another very talented player at corner that's looking to find his way into the mix. And if this group can stay injury-free this year, they could rival the Ravens for the best secondary in the division. One of the major reasons for optimism for the Browns is the fact that their roster is impressive from a talent perspective. You talk about their 2 deep, sometimes even 3 deep at positions, and on both sides of the ball, they are really talented. Going into the draft, I was like, how do you find ways to improve this team? Because their roster on their 2 deep is pretty stacked. So now you add a very impressive draft class along with a talented roster that's healthy, at least right now, and you have no reason but to be optimistic about the Browns. In conjunction with that, their run game is dominant and their running back situation is dominant. You could see at times last year, teams just got tired of tackling Nick Chubb and he breaks off a huge run. And then once he gets a breather, in comes a fresh, even equally as dynamic Kareem Hunt to finish them off. So when you're able to run the football like they can, you can definitely go far. A cause for concern would be if the passing game just stays okayish. When you look at what happened last year, as solid as Baker Mayfield played, they left some opportunities out there on the field, going deeper down the field, and you expect with a healthy OBJ, along with what they've added so far in free agency and also in the draft with Schwartz and guys coming back, that passing game has to go from being in the 20s to maybe top 15. If they can take a step forward there, especially considering they have the play action passing game because of the run ability that they have, they should be able to take those shots deep down the field on a more consistent basis. So if they can take a step forward there, they'll be fine. But if it stays average, okayish, it could be an issue. And if that secondary just doesn't stay healthy, there's so much talent at corner, at safety, starters, and reserves. If they can't stay healthy, it's going to stretch thin that depth chart, and they're going to have to find guys and scramble to put guys out there in position like they did last year. So if they can't stay healthy, it could be an issue moving forward. Some training camp quick hits looking at a camp surprise. I think people will be surprised at how deep this offensive line is. We spoke about it earlier, how they get back guys like Colby Gossett and Drew Forbes from opting out. The rookie from Cincinnati is going to step in and surprise people. I think people will be shocked at how deep this offensive line is heading into the season. And also, keep an eye out for Romeo McKnight, the undrafted rookie free agent out of Charlotte. He has a long, lengthy, athletic frame to really be a problem. I think he's a sneaky option as a reserve early on. He's going to surprise people with how well he's able to consistently get to the quarterback, and he is tailor-made to go off in the preseason. Looking at some rookie impact players offensively, I'm a big fan of Anthony Schwartz and what he's going to provide for this offense. You talk about explosiveness, getting OBJ back and adding a guy of the caliber of Schwartz that can be utilized in the wide receiver run game, going deep down the field, playing in the slot, and also helping out on returns. He's going to have a huge impact for this offense. And Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah as a straight matchup defender each and every week is going to be phenomenal to watch. Again, his speed and athleticism allows him to be utilized in a multitude of ways, and I would expect the Browns to do just that this upcoming season. The biggest X factor on offense to me is Baker Mayfield. If he can remember what he did last year, play within himself like that, while also taking gradual steps forward in terms of being a little bit more aggressive, cautiously aggressive in the passing game, then they can really take a big step forward as a team in 2021. And Jadeveon Clowney, he talked about being healthy for the first time in a long time. If he can be the direct beneficiary of Myles Garrett on the opposite side, and break out this year, it could really help this defense transform into one of the better defenses in the NFL. As far as breakout players are concerned, offensively, Harrison Bryant is in line for a big-time second year with the Browns within his offense. He started to come along late last season. I love his ability as a receiver, and you should see that even more so this season. Defensively, there's two guys. I'm a big fan of Jacob Phillips and what he did last year as a rookie, and I think this season we'll see him become a significant presence at the second level. And Grant Delpit, we didn't get a chance to see him last year because he was out with an Achilles injury. I do feel as though he is exactly what they want on the back end. Instinctual player, good ball skills, and will prove to be healthy this season and help this defense out on the back end. The road to the Super Bowl for the Browns goes as follows. If the big plays in the passing game start to return with the return of OBJ and other targets out there, and Baker Mayfield being a little bit more dynamic in terms of throwing the football downfield, if that returns, that passing game will jump up. And the secondary stays healthy for 17 games. We talked about that before, how talented they are on paper. At corner and at safety, they got to be together for the full season. And if Clowney can get double-digit sacks, because we know Myles Garrett will get double-digit sacks, the Browns could find themselves getting through the playoffs and getting to LA for the Super Bowl. I have the Browns finishing second in the AFC North. This is a 11, 12, 13 win type team. If things break for them the right way, they could win the division outright. They've proven they can beat Baltimore. And I think this team, the way it's constructed, if it stays healthy on defense, they can not only get into the playoffs, but go through the playoffs. I see the Browns being a significant player in the AFC picture this upcoming season. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. And don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating.
It's you tell I see you by this point you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.